Welcome back to Morning at NTV. Yes, we are hashtag Morning at NTV across all the social media platforms. Let's continue doing this together. I'm already seeing a lot of your feedback. Now, Article 27 of Uganda's constitution provides for citizens' rights to privacy, but is no a law to protect an individual's data privacy, actually despite the large amounts of citizen data collected by government departments and private entities on a regular basis. New rules passed by Uganda Communications Commission to streamline citizen biodata are well intended, but there is growing concern that this data is collected with no guarantee of its protection and privacy. Existing legislation prohibits unauthorized access and disclosure of information. Now, current laws include the Access of Information Act 2005, Uganda Communications Act 2013, Electronic Signatures Act 2011, Computer Misuse Act 2011, and the Regulation of Interception of Communication Act 2010. However, the provisions in these laws are not elaborate and do not adequately protect personal data. So this morning we are joined by Mr. Tim Oriedo, the CEO and founder of Predictive Analytics Lab, a certified data scientist with vast experience in this area, to give us practical tips on how you can do your bit in securing yourself and your information in the e-space. So let's take this short bumper and we'll be back with that practical conversation. So welcome back to Morning at NTV, and thank you so much, Mr. Tim Oriedo, for coming through.
Thank you, Sylvia.
I think this is information that we've all been waiting for, and we so badly need. You know, the government can only do so much, and now the e-space is free and open to everyone, and we all have this smartphones, gadgets. So I think we can start with the basics before we go into the ins and outs of this. Social media, applications and all that. Where can we all start in terms of securing ourselves and doing our bit in this particular battle?
So of course we are witnessing an era where there's a high adoption of mobile phone technology. This is driven by the high usage of our social media platforms to connect, communicate, and also to transact. So what we are witnessing is an era where we are having a lot of presence of our behavior activity on social media platforms. So when we are interacting with those apps, what we are doing is we are leaving what we call digital breadcrumbs. So there are trails of information that we are leaving behind that can be picked by people with different intentions to put those pieces together and analyze for different purposes.
People with different intentions.
Yes.
Interesting. So I think we can start with the basics before we go to the applications. And someone once said that apps, I think, are the best blessing to the day, today's world, you know, because now we have apps for everything, and we seem to find all the solutions we need on the apps. But let's start on the basic platforms. What information should I share and what should I keep to myself in terms of the basics? We can start with Facebook.
Okay. So Facebook is the platform with the highest penetration. There are a lot of communities and a lot of individuals have connected on Facebook. Businesses too have profiles on Facebook. Twitter is the second platform with a lot of penetration. Then we use a lot of Gmail for communications, and then LinkedIn again for professional communications. So if you look at this image, we are trying to illustrate the type of data that these platforms require from each user. So, for example, the first type of data is a name that can be used to identify you. So this is an ID, and it could be your real name or a pseudonym, based on what identity you want to carry. The second type of data is location. So you might want to show where you live, where you're located.
Is that safe though?
Yes,
just the other day I bumped into this particular feature on Facebook. And I'm sure when I'm trying to get into Facebook as a newbie, they ask for this information. Where do you live? Is it in, the country, the exact location, the district and all that. And it's okay, you can give that. They don't, drill you to give all that. But there's another application that I saw on Facebook where you either enable or disable that location gadget.
Good.
How safe is it?
Okay, it's important you're asking that because, again, we classify data into 3 categories. There is what we call service data. So service data is the data that you have to give to these apps before you are allowed to use the apps. So that's mandatory. So for example, things like your email, they need to know and verify some things about your background before they give you access to those platforms. We have the second type of data, which is called disclosed data. So there's the data that you voluntarily put up on those platforms, and no one tells you what to put and what not to put. Then there is a third category, which is what we call derived data. So that's the data that the technical team on the back end of these apps glean, collect, analyze, and create inferences that can be able to make some observations around your personality, for example. So going back to the first type of data, disclosed data. Service data. So the service data, for example, is what is listed here. So you've asked a question about location. So some apps actually do require location information for them to serve you better. For example, taxi apps. They need to access the location of your device, and that represents where you're located before a taxi can come to where you are. So some apps might mandatory to have location, some not mandatory.
But is it safe for me to enable that location bit on Facebook? Is it safe?
So for Facebook, it's not mandatory. But under the service data, they actually do want to know where you are, but because the algorithm for Facebook does recommend a number of things, which is, for example, advertising. We have what you call location intelligence advertising. So they might recommend a few promotions, a few events that are happening around you based on where you're located. Then secondly, also friend network. There's a recommendation engine that Facebook has called Friends You May Know. That Friends You May Know is an algorithm which has been created, and it consumes information from different sources, including Wi-Fi routers. So you go to a public place, you connect to a Wi-Fi router, you have someone connecting the same Wi-Fi router. It develops what we call a proximity network, which can be able to analyze the closeness between the two of you. If you exchange your phone number with that individual, it means the Facebook will also reads your phone book. It will recognize that you have exchanged phone numbers with someone, and you appear to have connected in the same Wi-Fi address. So irrespective of you giving it information of your location, it will pick it up by itself automatically.
All right, but with Facebook, you're saying that it's somewhat a safe platform. It's okay to just enable some of these things on Facebook.
Exactly, it does.
Okay, so let's flip over to Twitter, and we're saying on Twitter that we need to have a username, the living details. What are these two?
Okay, so this is the details of your career, your profession, your business. So Facebook will ask you about your work and education. Let's jump to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a professional network. So you only go there because you want to show people where you work and your career progression. So this is mandatory. Birthday, for instance. So Twitter does not ask you about your birthday, but the other platforms do ask you about your birthday. So what's the significance of these two? So first, it's about connecting to a network. It's about branding yourself with a certain attributes that may make your profile attractable. So it depends on your intention of going onto that platform.
All right. So what you're saying is that this are well regulated. These 4 platforms are well regulated, and once you give off such information, it's safe and secure. Let's flip over to the space that is quite volatile and not as regulated as it should be. Now, these are the applications that we all go down to quickly on Play Store, get to upload. I have a friend of mine who has an app that is doing amazing for them in terms of giving them solutions. Then, hey, I'm quick to just upload these apps. Caution us today. What should we put in mind before downloading any application without this? Now we've already moved on from these platforms.
So I think I like the choice of what you use in terms of regulation, because I think the public needs to be insulated against the abuse of the information that they share on those public platforms. So the beauty with these big apps, and they're well regulated. There's a lot of attention which is drawn to them. A lot of laws coming up globally around how that data is accessed, processed, and third-party access as well. Yeah, but then we have another stream of mobile apps which are created by the other users of these technologies. So as we said, there are different applications which can give you different access to different levels of usage. For instance, you've got mobile lending apps which are created by banks to enable their customers have access to the banking products on a digital platform. You also have newsrooms, for example. Yeah, we have apps which are created by media companies to enable their clients access their products that have been digitized and put on those platforms.
Correct.
Yeah, so there's a clear departure from the norm with the increase in terms of awareness from the technical community on how data which is gleaned or collected from these devices can be processed, analyzed, and add some additional value to the information that they're looking for. So for instance, every time you download an app, you will see a series of requests. Yeah, so it will ask you, allow me to access your phone book, allow me to access your text messages, allow me to access your location, even as far as your microphone.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh my goodness.
Because we, in the area of analytics, we've moved away from analyzing just numbers. We've moved into analyzing photos,
yes,
analyzing videos, and even there's what we call voice analytics.
So we have two points of analysis.
Yes.
There's the structured, we're looking at numbers, then structured now all these other soft things like videos, photos, and all that.
Exactly, yeah. So the reason that those apps allow access to that is two things. First, they use that information to strengthen the intelligence of your usage of those apps. And then secondly, depending on the business model they have, they could be, and that's where the caveat comes, they could be data brokers. For instance, an app that comes with any gamification, and they're not telling you a clear guideline on why and how they need to access your voice. Yeah, we've seen an app which is created for parents to track their children. So if you can download that app, and if your child does not pick the phone, the app will listen to the noise that's around that environment. And that's a safer app because it has a clear guide on why it's using its microphone to access that information.
So what you're telling us today is that we should not be quick to download applications without reading through the terms and conditions.
Exactly. Terms and condition is key, yeah, because they're very clear. They'll tell you you're downloading this app, and this is how we're going to collect this information, and this is how we plan to use this information. So if you go ahead and deny access to that data that they're looking for, the functionality of the app will be impaired. So it sort of means that they're forcing you to just go ahead and use it.
Right.
Yeah. Banks, for instance, in the banking sector now, we are talking about alternative data. Yeah, we've heard about government and banking regulations saying that we need to move away from creating banking products which are only for people who are banked. We need to move into creating loan solutions for people who are unbanked.
Correct.
Yeah. So how do you do that? So mobile apps have the ability to predict your risk appetites, and we can use that to model the ability for you to pay a loan just by looking at your call log, the frequency of the phones you make, the number of phone calls you make and to who, and also what time of the day you make those phone calls. Then combine it with your behavior on around how you what kind of websites you visit, what time of the day do you go online, what kind of activity are you extracting from those websites that you're visiting.
Right. It's interesting to see that companies now are not taking anything for granted. If they can go all the way to ensure that they actually assimilate more customers through monitoring their patterns and behavior on things that, appeal to them. So let's look at that. When it comes to apps, we talked about the terms and conditions segment before, saying, ticking, I agree, and downloading. So when reading through, what are some of those pointers that I need to put into perspective to make that decision on whether to download or not? What should I look out for to protect myself?
So what we encourage users of these digital platforms to check is first the integrity of the app. So quickly when you go to Play Store, it will tell you how many people have downloaded that app. So you can actually tell how big an app is, depending on the usage Secondly,
Let me ask you on that one.
Yeah.
Are those figures normally genuine?
they are.
They
yeah,
are?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because the Play Store is owned by Google,
Okay.
and Google is governed by international regulations, so at least it's a safe place. Now, there are other apps which are not listed on the Play Store, and that's where we make mistakes. So you'll find an app which has been forwarded to you by a friend, maybe on one of the social, maybe WhatsApp, and they tell you download this app. Now you're downloading it directly. I've seen a clone, you know, there's a WhatsApp clone, yeah, which you don't get it on the Play Store, but it does exist.
Yeah.
Now, when you click on it, you'll download and it will be WhatsApp, but it's a very same user experience like WhatsApp, but it's completely different. It's not the real WhatsApp. Yeah, so it's not listed on the App Store. Why? Because it has not fulfilled the criteria for apps which are listed publicly.
All right.
So
So number one, make sure that you check for the integrity and legitimacy of this particular application.
App,
okay.
yeah. So avoid downloading apps off
Play Store.
the Play Store. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Second pointer, as I'm reading through the terms and conditions, what you know, kind of information should I know that, hey, this one, maybe I need to think twice about downloading this.
Yeah, yeah. So read through what kind of data they're going to access from your phone. It does tell you the reason why they'll need to access your SMS. For example, a bank may need to access your SMSs because they're looking for transactional information. Somewhere you might have gone to swipe your credit card, then the SMS comes in, your mobile wallet transactions, they'll glean that information and build a model for credit scoring. But if you go to another site, for example, a sports app, yeah, why will they need your SMS data, for example? Yeah, so we find that a lot of these apps are created as facades where data is gleaned from your mobile phone, yeah, for further processing, and that procedure of collecting that information is not so clear. And the other thing is that data, where is it stored? Oh yeah, because some of these apps are created locally, but those servers are not in our jurisdiction.
Right.
Yeah, so
top of mind, you know, I think what will, you know, make many people worried is that if we don't read through some apps, through some terms and conditions, you know, outlaid in these applications, you're actually giving power over the microphone, over the lens. If your phone has a camera.
Exactly.
So let me ask you, how then do we go about just, you know, it's crazy to know that you were having this conversation and you're telling me that even hackers use that platform to just get you down. But how then do you go about safeguarding yourself? Because a majority will not actually tell you that in the terms and conditions that they're going to have power to access your microphone, to access your lens.
So unfortunately, there are two things. Yeah. So the data that's going to be accessed through the app, is safer because you actually have been told you're going to access it. But unfortunately for hackers, they don't even use apps. Yeah. So they use internet connectivity. They use, the other day there was a revelation that you can actually hack someone's phone through the USB cable, for charging the phone. So there are all these sorts of cybersecurity threats, and all these technologies evolving. Anything that's connected to the internet is susceptible to hacking. So the camera is one of the conduits they use to, for example, just watch you as you type. If your laptop is on and you're typing, and they can watch even as you key in your credit card details. So some of the things that people do is you put a masking tape on top of the camera, even when you're doing some sensitive work, because people are watching. Now we talk about Bitcoin, and you know about Bitcoin mining. So there's also hacking into people's computing power. So because people are looking for distributed computing power, so they will hack into your laptop, they'll hack into your mobile phone. Every time you connect to a public Wi-Fi, you find your phone is becoming too hot. It's probably someone who's using it to mine cryptocurrencies.
You're kidding? So what do we do? Do we also put masking tape on our phones?
Now, unfortunately, the network for the internet will still have to come through. So there are different levels of it. So sometimes you just have to be sensitive to some of those signals. Perhaps when you see your phone becoming a little bit too hot than normal, then ask yourself why, and you're connected to a public Wi-Fi. So we encourage your limited usage of public Wi-Fis, because they're not, the reason why they're called public is because they're available to everyone, the good and the bad.
Let me ask you quick fire questions right here.
Yeah.
Can downloading an app be dangerous? You already answered that.
Yes.
That the thing is just to read through the terms and conditions.
Yeah.
If something rings a bell or you know your antennas are up with regards to some information, then don't download.
And also reviews. So every app, the beauty with these platforms is they give a segment where people can review and give feedback on the usage of that app.
Right.
Yeah. So that crowdsourcing of reviews is important because we tend to learn and educate each other about experiences we've had with those apps.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for how long should my app remain on my phone after downloading it?
Yeah. So it depends with your usage of those apps. So avoid to have apps that you're not using frequently.
Why?
Yeah. Because first, they'll just occupy space on your phone for nothing. Secondly, these apps upgrade themselves automatically after some time. Now, when they're upgrading, it means there's an additional module or an additional data type they've requested to access, but you rarely go and check what they're upgrading. You'll just go into a strong Wi-Fi network connection and you start seeing apps upgrading themselves. Yeah. So some clever app developers actually do mask some of those applications under the upgrades. So you may not have an opportunity even to read, but you'll just find you have all the information strewn all over the internet without knowing how they access it.
Are gurus like you concerned about that, and are you working to make sure that we have that caveat when an app has to upgrade itself? Then you have a query there. Do you authorize the same? Are you giving power to them to upgrade? Should that happen in terms of just us securing ourselves?
Absolutely, yeah, and that's why we talk about a lot of consumer protection. Yeah, and one of the strong things that the government should do is create a protocol that governs the usage of those apps, and then secondly, run educational campaigns through the media to educate the public against, to educate the public on the usage of those social media platforms.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. The other quick question, are third-party apps illegal?
Okay. Third-party in the sense that, first of all, Facebook is also an app. You can develop your app and put it on Facebook. Okay. So Facebook before, and I want to use the example of Cambridge Analytica because that story is really much in the public limelight. Yeah, they've been accused of influencing the election trends in a couple of our countries. So the Cambridge Analytica, what they did is they created a gamification app. They put it on Facebook. So Facebook is an app, but then there's another third-party app on top of Facebook. Now, what was happening is gamification means it's an app that's created to make you engage with it with the sole purpose of entertainment. The recent one being the Face app.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you were worried about it. Was it a safe one or?
Okay. Yeah. So the issue with those apps is, first of all, people will assume that that app belongs to Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah. But not knowing that Facebook actually has the same business model with Android. So they've developed a community where app developers develop apps and put it on the Facebook. So when you're interacting with it, you have that faith that my data is secure. But unfortunately, there's data that's being collected there, sent to private servers for further processing. So you really happen to download part of the terms and conditions for the Face app. And it was a little bit worrying because they're saying that they now own the data that you have uploaded. Because one of the things that the algorithm needed to calculate your aging progression was to have access to your photos.
Oh my goodness.
So they downloaded all the photos stored in your phone.
Gallery, yes.
Yes, yeah. So that property belongs to them. And
forever now.
Forever.
Even if you delete that particular app?
Exactly.
You've
so
already surrendered your information.
It's surrendered and they're now storing it in their private servers.
Wow. Yeah. All right. The other last question, can downloading apps cause viruses?
Of course, absolutely.
We are always worried about viruses. I think these things just carry a lot of viruses. So can downloading apps present that as well? So actually, and now the apps are becoming conduits for cyber crime. Okay, a lot of cyber wars are even being fought on those apps. Yeah, we've had banks being hacked through their employees' phones. Yeah, downloading some apps. Correct.
And there's one famous one. It's called the Kabanak heist. Yeah, a lot of millions were lost in banks across the world from Ukrainian hackers who developed an app, and they were going through the employees' email addresses actually, to steal the passwords for banks, and they were, going to the safes and, extracting currencies and making wire transfers all over. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's really, really risky. For you to download an app, and I think one of the things that we need to respect is the integrity of For example, iOS for Apple, they have a clear protocol on how they approve an app. Android also has strengthened their approval. So right now you can just publish an app and put it on Android and say that you want to access people's contacts and photos and everything. You have to provide proof why you need that. Yeah. So a lot of this is still ongoing, strengthening of the apps. So just avoid downloading apps off those traditional app stores.
I think now I'm so guilty of not following some of these things, and at least now we have all the information. Team, as we wrap this up, just quick pointers just on how to be safe. You've already told us. I think as young people we say that, hey, let me save my bundles and just subscribe to the public Wi-Fi. What you're telling us is we need to be very cautious of that. And also when downloading apps, we need to make sure that, hey, you read through the terms and conditions.
Terms and conditions,
Your last remarks.
So I think it all boils down to you as an individual. So how well insulated are you against this evolution? So first of all, there is a need to get the skill and knowledge around what's happening. There's also a need to align yourself to clear protocol. For example, governments have created guidelines for how businesses engage with online communities. So as a business, for example, if you're an app developer and you'd like to create some app, try to align yourself to the legal regulatory environment that's governing the usage of that. And thirdly, if you already have any data that you've collected through your app and you know you didn't collect it in the right way, it's only fair and ethical that you return that data back to the owner, because it's a moral obligation actually to have a clear conscience when you're working with these technologies.
All right, okay. Quick one, I just have to ask you this.
Yeah.
There's now mobile banking. Are we safe to do it on our phones, especially if you're not sure that maybe your phone is being, you know, monitored by someone? Is it safe?
Yeah, it's good you've asked that, because I think on the frontier of mobile banking, we have two things that we've been observing. So first of all, there's the positive side. Yeah, so we've been able to do financial inclusion. So many of our citizens have not had the privilege of having traditional bank accounts. So the traditional credit scoring algorithms were using history of transaction before they give you a loan.
Correct.
Now the advent of mobile banking and alternative credit scoring has ensured that the mobile apps which have come that don't require financial transaction to give you a loan. So that's a good thing, because we are expanding the loan base. We're able to give loans to financial inclusivity, and when the people have access to credit, then there is more investments going on and better access to financing.
All right.
Now to the negative side, there's what we call identity theft. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's identity theft? So identity theft is someone will steal your mobile phone. Okay. You don't need to. The biggest worry nowadays is not even the mobile phone itself being stolen, but it's that person going to clone your SIM card.
Whoa. Okay.
So what happens when they clone your SIM card? They clone your SIM card, and they will go and download those mobile lending apps. Okay. Then they will take a loan using your mobile device. When you go to retrieve your SIM card after, and it just takes a span of 1 hour to do all that.
Wow.
Yeah. When you go and retrieve your phone number, you start receiving phone calls from credit reference bureaus that
like,
you
hey,
owe someone some amount of money, and you're not aware how that happened.
Yeah.
Secondly, there's also, because of the bank integration and mobile banking, individuals are able to use your mobile phone number to access your bank account, through that digital cloning. So it's something that it's really still a challenge to the digital community. Still coming up with the ways to insulate the abuse of that. But I think it all boils down to to one thing. First of all, safeguard your property, safeguard your phone. Secondly, safeguard your PIN.
And log out. After you're done, just log out on this particular platforms.
Exactly.
And change your passwords as well, as frequently as possible.
As frequently as possible. And also be discreet when you're keying in your passwords.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you, Sylvia.
I think we still have a lot to talk about. We'll have you back whenever you're around.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Tim Oriedo, the CEO and founder of Predictive Analytics, and is also a certified data scientist. Keep your questions coming. I'll make sure that he sees them. #morning@NTV is the place to be.